Welcome back to the channel, fellow aviators. So today we're going to be talking about the Gripen being announced, or I guess teased in the forums. So make sure to subscribe to the channel because every subscription really does help. And join the Discord down below because we do use SimPilot. Also tell me what aircraft you guys would like to see added to the game in the comments down below. But today we're going to be talking about what transpired in the forums. But before we get into that, let's just talk about what the Gripen is. Now they're talking about adding the Gripen C, which I think that's just a bit much. I think the Gripen A would be fine, but it depends on what they put on the Gripen C, right? What loadout. It should be able to get data link, so that's pretty cool. We'll see if Gaijin implements that into the game. There's a couple aircraft that already should have data link in the game, and I feel like it'd be a cool feature for Gaijin Tech. But the Gripen C is a multi-role fighter developed by the Swedish aerospace company Saab. It is the third generation of the Gripen fighter, which was also introduced in 1996. Gripen C is a single-engine aircraft designed for air-to-air combat and air-to-air ground missions. It's basically your typical multi-role fighter for a very cheap price. And actually, that's mostly why they market this aircraft, because it's pretty cheap to produce. And we'll see if Gaijin puts a low repair cost on this bad boy. It probably won't. But this thing's also capable of landing on roads and that sort of deal. So it's a pretty versatile fighter. And it does carry some lethal weapons like the AIM-120, some AIM-9 M's, Mika missiles, that sort of deal. Meteor missiles even. But I don't think we'll see meteor missiles for a while. I think we might see the AIM-120. I'm not sure if they're going to... I don't think they're going to add the C. They really shouldn't. Just add the AIM-120As. Those would be fine. I don't think this thing carried the AIM-7s at all, so that would be a bit of a problem. This might be the first fighter to get AIM-120s, but we'll see what Gaijin does. Now, in terms of the form, we have this little picture here, and you could see this is one of the technical moderators. You know, he's not a super high position, but he is working with Gaijin, and he's saying that the JAS-39C is planned to be coming this year. So that's just a little weird, in my opinion, because why the C, right? I don't know. Gaijin has been known to do stuff like this before, where they add like later variants of the aircraft into the game, and then they've also been known to add like super early variants of the aircraft, like the F-14A early. Why are we getting the C? Is there other aircraft they're adding with this? Like, is there counters to this? Like, we're going to need something to kill this thing, right? I mean, it's the C variant. That's like a pretty advanced fighter. The A, sure, you can add that, especially with a limited load, but the C is going to be very lethal in the game if they do add it. So, I have some theories. I think what Gaijin is doing is they're building hype, right? They did the same thing with the Tomcat. They did the same thing with supersonic jets when those were being developed. You know, they were saying like, "Oh, we tested supersonic jets. They don't work. Can't have them in the game, and we got supersonic jets." And you could see Gaijin likes to do this slowly. They'll build hype for vehicle very subtly. They'll give little sprinkles, little hints, and because Gaijin is 100% able to not have this stuff leaked, right? And it does get leaked a lot. This is not considered a leak, but technically they did find this in the files earlier, and that's why people started talking about the Gripen. So I think Gaijin does this on purpose, personally. I have no clue, I have no evidence behind this, but it only makes sense because if you're going to release a new fighter, right, and you want your community to start grinding a certain nation, you're just going to start spoon-feeding them little hints, little subtle hints here and there, saying like, hey, look, this fighter could be added to the game. And it builds hype. It helps people grind nations. Even in the video I talked about the potential of the Gripen being added, people were like, hey, I'm going to grind Sweden now. Even like in the past, I would do that. Like, hey, I hear jets being added or whatever. I'm like, okay, I got to grind this nation. And it takes time. One, you play the game more, and two, to put more money into the game. So building hype around newer vehicles for Gaijin is probably the best thing they're doing right now in terms of marketing, right? That's why I think this, because it wasn't taken off the forum, and it's been up since Wednesday, so for a couple days. I think what Gaijin's doing here is they're just building hype for their vehicle, which is fine. I think that's fine. I think when you build hype for vehicles or newer stuff, it makes people excited about the game, and it actually makes them enjoy the game because they're like, wow, this new stuff is coming, you know. It makes people fond of the game, and they're excited for their favorite aircraft to be added to the game, that sort of deal. So yeah, I think this is, I think we're going to get the Gripen. I didn't think we'd get the C. I was saying we're going to get the A. That made a lot more sense. But, hey, if we do get the C in the game, I will shut my mouth. But I don't know. That's just a little overpowered. I mean, just look up, like, pictures of the C interior. It looks amazing. Like, this is a 4.5 gen fighter. This thing is pretty darn modern. So, I mean, that's why I think Gaijin's building hype around this. And they did state earlier that, yes, we're adding 4th gen aircraft to the game this year. So, it would make sense, but considering what they said, but it's just like, wow, this aircraft, this is pretty darn modern, you know? Especially the C variant, but we'll see what Gaijin does. I think it'll be cool to see it added to the game, but I do believe they're building hype around this. This is just what they do. Like, you'll notice a pattern every time a new aircraft is added to the game. Usually there's pretty big support for the aircraft behind it, right? Like, a lot of people actually want it in the game and they add it, and it makes sense. Like, if your people or your customers are saying, hey, we want this, and you add it to the game and you make a ton of money off of it, you're just going to do that again, right? I mean, it's the reason they've been spoon feeding top tier jets to us, or like you know, newer aircraft like the Tomcat, the F-16, MiG-29, that sort of deal. For example, there was updates where multiple jets should have been added at the same time, but they just added one. For example, the Viggen, they just gave us the Viggen, so they're slowly spoon feeding us this newer these newer aircraft, and I think it's because, one, it gives the game longevity, and two, it helps players consume it a lot better, right? Because if we just added a flanker and a F-15 and a Eurofighter or something like that, right, all into the game at once, could you imagine how much that would change the game? So Gaijin's definitely spoon feeding this stuff, and I think this is premeditated. I believe this leak or this forum post is definitely a them playing 4D chess, basically. That's what I think this is. But tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure to join the Discord. And I hope you guys have a blessed day and take care.